Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the tutorial for GGRA30. I'm your TA. My name is Yixue Zhang, and my section is number 4 and number 7. And my office hour is 2 to 3 p.m. every Wednesday. You can email me about your questions, or we can schedule a Zoom video meeting to discuss your questions. This exercise is intended to familiarize you with the Excel user interface, practice entering data and the formula in Excel, and practice filtering data, and practice displaying scatter plots and trend lines. You can find and download the dataset of this tutorial from Quarkus. And all the instructions in this tutorial have been written for and tested with Excel 2016. You can do the same things using most other versions of Excel, and also you can try Excel for web, but I highly recommend that you use Excel 2016 for this tutorial. The first task of this tutorial is to formulate and fill in Excel. First, open the file. This is a dataset of monthly temperatures from Pearson Airport. It contains the following columns: date, year, month, temperatures, and perceptions. Here is the table. If the file has opened in a protected view, you must click the Enable Editing button on the ribbon before completing the following steps. Notice that the mean temperature column has not been completed. We will fill it in. Click the first entry of the mean temp column, cell F2, to select it for data entry. Now you can directly enter the value and press Enter. But next, let's use a formula to automatically compute the temperature. Here is the column that to be completed later. Click cell F2 again, and a cell value that begins with an equal sign is interpreted as a formula. We will define this cell to be the mean of cells D2 and E2. Then we enter the formula into the cell F2, then hit Enter. The cell should again display the mean temperature. If you need to select a range of cells, you can click on the entire cell, holding the left mouse button down and dragging across the other cell to complete the range. Excel provides a function for computing an average of the variables in a range of cells, as well as many other functions. To see a list of functions, click on the function symbol. Click on F2 again and enter the following function. Then click on F2 to highlight it. Then click on the bottom right of the cell where you see a small black square attached to the corner, and drag the cell outline all the way down to the bottom of the column to fill the column with appropriate formula to compute the mean temperature of each cell. Click on any of the cells in the column other than F2. You can look at the formula bar showing the formula, and notice how the formula from F2 has been modified to reference the cells appropriate to calculating the value in the cell you selected. You can click and drag this small black square to compute the mean temperature in these cells. Finally, we are done with F2, and we will auto-complete the rest of the column. It is a very good practice to always check 1 or 2 calculations in a spreadsheet manually. And here is a question for discussion. What has happened to the cell references in the other cells in the column? Now you should have a full dataset. You now have done enough to start the tutorial quiz. You can see the quiz on Quarkus. The second task is filtering data. Excel allows you to adjust the order in which data is displayed and to hide some values from use. For example, let us constrain the table to only show the January data values. Filter the table to achieve this. The first step is to select the entire table. And on the Home tab, you can find the Editing section of the ribbon and click on the Filter and Sort button and then click the filter. This figure shows how to find the filter button. After you click Filter button, all of the column headings now have down pointing arrows. We can use these to sort or filter the data. Click the downwards triangle for the months column and clear all check marks except for the number 1. We can check the bottom of the Excel table to see how many records are there for January. The third task is to draw a scatter plot. Let us see this data on a graph. Step 1 is to select all of columns B and F. Once both columns are selected, click on the Insert tab in the ribbon. Then click on the Scatter icon to insert a scatter plot chart of the data. Look at your scatter plot. Hover your cursor over a data point in the scatter plot. You will see an information bubble showing the X and Y values for that point. This figure shows how to find and make a scatter plot in Excel. And you will see your scatter plot after you have done the above-mentioned steps. Next, we are going to add a trend line on the scatter plot. It is straightforward in Excel to create a trend line. First, you have to right-click on one of the data points in the scatter plot and select Add Trend Line from the menu. A trend line will be drawn on the plot and a formatting panel will appear for the line. Second, you can click to add a check mark for Display Equation on Chart. Change the data filters so that the table shows temperatures at the airport for the month of March. The scatter plot, trend line, and displayed equation should all be updated immediately. We can turn off automatic axis adjustments and set the minimum and maximum axis values to include the full range of temperature means for all of the months you are comparing. Right-click the labels of the y-axis and select Format Axis to open a configuration panel for this. And you can set in the axis bounds minimum value and maximum value. Then switch back and forth between the January and March temperatures with the y-axis fixed. Can you now see how the data is changing? In the red box, you can adjust your minimum value and maximum values. With March temperatures again displayed, has the slope of the trend line changed compared to the January trend line? How? We will discuss the interpretation of trend lines and their associated equations more in week 3. You will be asked to provide values from your work with the Excel data as answers to questions in the tutorial quiz. Ensure that you carefully select the correct data to answer the questions. Quiz questions are assigned randomly. The questions will ask you to provide values showing 1 digit after the decimal. The correct answer is the value shown in the spreadsheet rounded to 1 decimal place. You can have Excel do the rounding for you. Just follow the steps here. You can switch the format from general to number. And you can change the decimals by clicking the button in the red box. Finally, there is a tip to reduce possibilities for error. Just copy the cell content and paste that into the space provided for your answer in Quarkus quiz. Check your answers before submitting the quiz. These are sample questions for the tutorial. You can see Quarkus and answer the questions in your quiz. That's all. If you have any further questions, please feel free to ask me. Thank you.